If you're not watching VOP, I don't know what you're watching. Maybe you're watching your weight.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Wale Ojo, and you're watching VOP, Voice of the People.
Hi, guys. You already know who it is. This is New Energy. Flyers whatever live it. Keep watching VOP TV. Thank you.
Hi, people. Jenny Albano here. Guys, please keep watching Voice of the People.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOP TV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television.
Obudu Mountain Resort, formerly known as the Obudu Cattle Ranch, is a ranch and resort on the Obudu Plateau in Cross River State, Nigeria. It was developed in 1951 by M. Macaulay. Macaulay, a Scottish who first explored the mountain ranges. In 1949, he camped on the mountaintop of the Oshia Ridge on Sankwala Mountains for a month before returning with Mr. Hugh Jones, a fellow rancher, in 1951, and Dr. Crefeld. Together, they developed the Obudu Cattle Ranch. Since 2005, a cable car climbing 870 meters from the base to the top of the plateau gave visitors a scenic view while bypassing the extremely winding road to the top. The resort is found on the Obudu Plateau, close to the Cameroon border in the northeastern part of Cross River State, approximately 110 kilometers east of the town of Ogoja and 65 kilometers from the town of Obudu in Obanluku local government area of Cross River State. It's about 30 minutes drive from Obudu town and also about 332 kilometers drive from Calabar, the Cross River State capital. Charter air service is available to the Bebi Airport, which lies between the village of Obudu and the resort. However, the airstrip is no longer functioning and the cable car has been grounded for a while now due to lack of maintenance. In 2020, it was reported that the governor of Cross River State, Professor Ben Ayade, pledged to revive the cable car after successfully test running it for the Christmas period. Since then, life has returned to the ranch. The climate of the Obudu Cattle Ranch is semi-temperate mountain climate, which is the general weather condition experienced on the Obudu Plateau. Due to its 1,600 meters elevation, the ranch has in recent times seen an influx of both Nigerian and international tourists because of the development of tourist facilities by Cross River State government, which has turned the ranch into a well-known holiday and tourist resort center in Nigeria. It has a serene climate compared to other regions in Nigeria.
Conversation and make your voice count. The people's voice. Make your voice count. The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as it is hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before.
In a
future. Now you have more than a voice. In a world where power shifts with every headline,
In a nation full of questions.
In a world filled with noise, the truth needs a voice.
The policies that shapes our world and the economy that determines our future.
Every hour, every day, the grapevine keeps buzzing.
And together, we are committed to telling the stories that shape our world because your voice is our focus.
Don't forget, our voice matters the most. Let us come together and share our concerns.
It's a beautiful Friday morning. Thank God today is Friday, and we welcome you to Voice of the People Television. Now, the program is VOP This Morning, and I am Chukuma Okoro. On the show today, insurgency in northern Nigeria. They will be hit very hard again. That's coming from Donald Trump. Credibility is at stake. Prioritize Electoral Act amendment and good governance. Article Okonjo-Iweala to Senate and the federal government. Rivers Chief Judge declines to set up panel to probe Fubara. Now, these are the major topics of discussion, but on our table, we also have other interesting trending stories. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Moses. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, lady. Gentlemen of the press, by the way.
Yes, good morning to you. Good morning, viewers. Welcome to the program. It's VOP This Morning, of course, and there are other conversations that we will be delving into very, very shortly.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on VOP This Morning. We are so excited that you're tuned in, and today promises to be super exciting, so stick with us.
All right, and so let's dive into one of the conversations that we have this morning. Nigerians are talking about this, and it, of course, is something interesting. So, the Nigeria's National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has officially begun nationwide enforcement of the ban on alcohol packaged in sachets and PET bottles below 200 milliliters, a move mandated by the Senate to take effect from December 2025. Now, the agency's Director General, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, explained that the crackdown is aimed at protecting vulnerable groups, especially children and young adults, from the dangers of cheap, high-concentrated alcohol that is easily accessible and concealable. While NAFDAC insists the ban aligns with global health standards and international best practices, manufacturers and civil society groups warn it could cost the economy trillions of naira and also wipe out millions of jobs. And as a lot of people, small-scale producers depend on sachet packaging for survival. Yes, I personally speaking now, I am for this. When this came out, there's been the back and forth as to the implementation of this ban on sachet alcoholic beverages. These things are easily available, affordable, and poorly produced. The content poor. Some of them you just have ethanol mixed with some flavor in them, and these things are harmful to people. So people just, because they're cheap, you just grab them, squeeze them, and then you take them, and then your internal organ starts to cry for help, and you don't have access to proper health care. So we see people developing kidney problems, internal issues. I know of someone who had a serious illness, a serious internal problem, and when we're looking for the cause of it, even though he tried denying, the fact that he had been taking alcohol, and I looked around, I basically went to the house and searched, and I saw a heap of sachets, different sachets. I don't want to mention brands now. A heap of them packed somewhere. So this young man was sneaking these things into the house and squeezing them, drinking them, and kept the sachet because he couldn't dispose them. And this is the same, it's the story everywhere. with young people in Nigeria. So if you look at the health implication of this, I would say, yes, go ahead, let there be a ban. But of course, I understand the economic aspects of it because people will lose jobs, all right? Small scale, you know, those people that have gained employment under this sector will have to go look for something else to do. And also the fact that these things are disposed indiscriminately and they cause dirt. In fact, basically, there's an environmental impact as well. So I think we should look at the overall benefit in banning production and consumption of alcohol beverages in sachet, as that will make things a whole lot better for us. Well, these are my own views, and I'm glad that INEC is swinging into action to ensure that this is executed.
Okay, NAFDAC.
NAFDAC, I beg your pardon.
It's your own
Did I say
view.
INEC?
Yeah, you said INEC. Because you told me the other day you want to get into politics. So I understand the perfection.
Yeah.
So it's already in your psychic now. Well, Moses, I think that the only person, you said you are for it, I think the only people, you know, group of people or set of people that would be against it is, one, the people that indulge in it, and probably the people that make money out of it. Practically, every other person will be for it. And my own advice to NAFDAC is, if you want to start from the motor parks, because they are the major culprits. And if you look at it from another angle, you discover that because the people that work in the motor parks are the major culprits, talking about drivers and conductors, you know, it also has a way of impacting on the rate of accidents that we have in society. I mean, you get up in the morning and you get to a motor park, by 6 o'clock, someone is already drunk at that point. The person is reeking of alcohol, both the driver and the conductor and the person that is collecting levies and dues and all of that. And before you know it, something flares and there's problem in the motor park. So that should be their first point of call. I beg to disagree with manufacturers when they say that millions of jobs will be lost. No, that's not correct. You know, they are just trying to include themselves by excluding others. The only thing that they can do is to upgrade. You upgrade the production. You can go to NAFDAC, get licenses. You can get to SON, NIS, you know, get licenses and now do bottles of it. They are not saying that, look, people should not consume alcohol. But they are saying this low-end aspect of it is causing damage to society. So you upgrade. So by the time you use 5,000 or 7,000 naira to buy a bottle of brandy or whiskey, you know, made from that stuff, you will be measured, you know, you'll be more circumspect in the way you consume it. And because a lot of people cannot afford that amount of money, they will naturally get away, you know, from that habit. So I'm for it, and I encourage NAFDAC. And the Senate should not go back on this. NAFDAC should not go back on this because they are going to mount pressure. And talking about an upgrade, I mean, when we were using typewriters, computers made on the scene and people had to upgrade. People that lost their business and jobs were people who couldn't, you know, become savvy at that point. So I liken it to, I'm trying to create an analogy, you know, between what economist David Schumpeter calls destructive creation, you know. When you create something, something has to be destroyed. But it's an advancement in society. And so that is what we are seeing. If NAFDAC is trying to remove this sachet alcoholic drink that they call baraga in our local language, what the producers, manufacturers need to do is get license so that you can produce the bigger bottles. It's even more economical for you because you make more money. That's it from me. So NAFDAC, please start from the motor parks. That should be our first point of call.
So apart from the motor park people, I think for me the major argument is the fact that a lot of young children have access to it. And you know, the purchasing power keeps dropping because of the economic downturn. So a lot of people who obviously love alcohol will turn to it because it's affordable and readily available. But at the same time, it's not enough for us to enforce. We always enforce. But you know that with this, there's going to be lots of kickback.
Yes,
but
there will be.
if you put a ban on something like this without alternatives, then it means that there's going to be a lot of substandard and even, a lot of them that are not even of good quality will flood the market. Remember when they banned codeine? Okay. Remember when codeine was banned? We now had a proliferation of illegal producers. A lot of illegal people underground were producing codeine because it's a drug that a lot of Nigerians, you know, consume. So with this, we should expect a lot of fake alcohol sachets.
These ones are fake already.
No, most of them. But don't forget that a lot of the big names also have this sachet.
A lot of what you see being produced are fake.
That's what I wanted to say, because it's a different kind of challenge. Even the ones that are approved, like the beer that we drink, there are some of the bottles, if you open them, you simply discover that they are fake and adulterated, So that's a different kind of challenge that NAFDAC also
and
has
even
to face.
SON will have to tackle
have to tackle all of these. It's not, the other day we saw people, bought some kind of television, and they were branding them. They were giving them a different brand, the brand that sells very fast in the market. Lorry load, in a very big factory, and they bring the stamp. These are television sets that were originally not marked. So, but when they bring them here, they start marking them, that very popular brand. So
because we have a craze for brand names.
For brand names. For brand names and not the product quality or what. Because you see some of these brand names, if you look at other brands, you discover that they are even of higher quality. But because they are established in the market, people tend to patronize them more and all of that. So I agree with you, it's a different kind of challenge that NAFDAC will also have to look into in the coming days. Anyway, let's move away from that. The federal government has announced the disbursement of 152 billion naira to contractors for verified projects, following weeks of heated protests at the Ministry of Finance headquarters in Abuja. Minister of State for Finance, Doris Uzoka Anite, confirmed the payments, stressing that every contract underwent strict verification procedures in line with existing laws and regulations to safeguard taxpayers' money. I like that, to safeguard taxpayers' money. Now they know that they should safeguard our money. Well, she acknowledged the financial strain contractors had endured due to prolonged delays and assured that the ministry remains committed to processing all valid payment requests. The announcement comes after mounting pressure from local contractors who staged demonstrations demanding settlement of outstanding debts, accusing the government of crippling their businesses and livelihoods. Well, despite the government's move, contractors insist the 152 billion naira payout is far below what is owed, vowing to continue their protest until all arrears are cleared. Well, the Ministry of Finance has appealed for patience and dialogue. Here we go again. It's peculiar. Is it peculiar to us? But it's become a norm, a new norm for us that, look, people who are entitled to something, they don't get it until they start making trouble with the government. You see how government operates. They won't pay teachers' salaries until teachers go on strike. They won't pay doctors' salaries because doctors go on strike. They will not pay police salaries or pensions until they go on strike. So it's a norm that we should not get accustomed to. It doesn't speak good of us. And look at the excuse that they are given, that they had to go through procedures. Contractors, because these things are supposed to be procedural to the extent that even before some of them have already been given certificates of completion. So in the process of giving certificates of completion, what do? You should have verified the payments as well. At some point, I worked with an organization that also did contracts with multinationals. And it's very seamless, very simple. You don't need to go back and forth to get your money. But when it gets to government, government will find an excuse to keep people's money. And don't be surprised, some of this money that we are talking about might have already been paid. So some people put it in their account for them to use, for the money to yield
That's
interest.
What I wanted to say.
Interest for them, They do what do they call this thing again? The fixed deposits, Imagine when you fix $152 billion in an account and it stays there for like 3 months, The accruals will be so much, And so people derive joy in having others suffer while they are making money. I don't believe the ministry when they say it is procedural bottlenecks that delay this money. No, it's not. They should have, from onset, ab initio, before you issue a certificate of completion, you must have verified everything, including the finances, before you issue that certificate, so that somebody will be paid. And let's stop going all this. It was an international embarrassment that, look, the Ministry of Finance had to be blocked. And like I said the other day, I saw it in Reuters. It was Reuters that carried it. And the thing is gone global. Oh, Nigeria government, they are owing contractors and all of that. And meanwhile, they are living large. Have you ever heard that senators, governors, that they are owed? No. We never get to hear that as ministers. No. So why
I don't think there's
local
any insight for things like this, because I've lived long enough in Nigeria to know that if you don't hold government by the neck, by the throat, they will not do the right thing. And I don't know why people at the helm of affairs or people even responsible for dispersing these funds are not even, held accountable or even, what's the word, called to order.
Yes.
Because it keeps happening. You hear contractors, some of them will even tell you, I know a couple of people who are into government contracts, and most of them, a lot of them use their money for these contracts to carry out the works. And at the end of the day, to even collect your money back is a huge challenge. And then we wonder why some of the contracts, some of the things they even do, why they're even substandard, or why they're not even up to, the required benchmark. I don't know what this issue is, but I think it's not something. I don't think it's something that is going to end in a.
A lot of business people, a lot of businesses have crumbled because they got into government contracts.
Yes.
There is this very guy that imports. One of the guys that started this desktop publishing and all of that. He ran into problems with government. A lot of money running into billions of naira.
People get into serious debt. Some people even take their lives. It's really, really bad.
Yes, and most of these monies were even borrowed from banks and all of that. And the interest is running, compounding.
And you still have the kickbacks, in between.
We have paid.
Well, it's the how much is it again?
152
billion.
Which they say is even far below.
Far below, because what they're asking for is around 4.7 trillion. That's what they're asking for. 4.7 trillion. So 152 billion is, a paltry sum. But then there's a budget for this. There's a budget for this. And I looked that up. It's about 1.7 trillion was budgeted in the 2026 appropriation bill to sort out monies owed to contractors. So if 1.7 trillion is budgeted, what they're asking for is 4 point something, between 4 trillion and 4.7. Why not give them what was budgeted? Yes. Why not just give them the 1 point something, as that will, greatly deplete what is being owed, and then next year you pay some other ones. You just spread the payment round.
No, to answer your question directly, some people are benefiting from it,
Definitely.
so it's not going to about to end. You see, the major problem in all of this is
Unfortunately,
our accounting procedures. Now, let's compare those in the private sector. Before they give you a job of 1 million naira, provision has been made for that money.
Yes.
You understand? So that the moment you execute and it is satisfied,
It's disbursed.
there is disbursed. And we hear the Federal Executive Council meet and say, the Federal Executive Council has approved 27 billion naira for the construction of so. So we take it for granted that that money is somewhere. Before you now start issuing contract documents and all of that. Now, when the person is done with the contract, the 27 billion naira disappears. How? It's difficult to understand. So you discover that there are people in government that ensures, others know what is happening. Some people wonder what is happening. Some people wonder what the hell is happening.
And some just ensure
that nothing happens.
So the money just develops wings and
flies
away.
And look at 4.7 trillion naira over the years. So,
and some have lost their lives in the process of,
some of them,
pay back bank loans and the rest.
Properties have been seized and sold by banks.
It's unfortunate.
Quite unfortunate.
Oh, well, let's move on to another story now. Jay?
Yeah. In a dramatic ruling that has reignited national debate, Nigeria's Supreme Court has dismissed the long-running suit seeking a retrial of Major Hamza Al-Mustafa, former chief security to the late ruler, General Sani Abacha, over the 1996 assassination of Alhaja Kudirat Abiola, the wife of Chief MKO Abiola, the acclaimed winner of the annulled June 12, 1993 presidential election. Kudirat, a fearless pro-democracy campaigner, was gunned down in Lagos during the height of political unrest, and Al-Mustafa, alongside Lateef Shofolahon, her aide, were accused of orchestrating the killing. Though both men were sentenced to death in 2012 by a Lagos High Court, they were later acquitted on appeal, and the Lagos State's attempts to reopen the case in 2014 stalled without action. On Thursday, a 5-man panel led by Justice Uwani Abba Aji finally struck out the matter, citing over a decade of abandonment by the Lagos government. This is, yesterday we were talking about this issue, and we talked about how much Nigeria has evolved and all the things we've gone through from the military junta of Abacha to now. And we also talked about how the fearless journalists at the time, you had the Temples, the Temple journalists tell how they fought and how they held them to account. And I remember this Al-Mustafa's story taking the front burner at the time. And it's so sad that years after this case, which is one of the unresolved traumas, for Nigeria, still is being stalled. And it's actually very sad that they actually struck it out because they said the Lagos State has abandoned it for over 10 years. And we know what we claim the late MK Abiola, signifies for Nigerian democracy. And it's really sad that this mother, just like others, would just be swept under the carpet and just struck out like that. And it's really, really inciting. Incites people. What do you think?
Well, there's a lot to think about this issue. It's first of all, it speaks to how our judiciary, runs in Nigeria, our criminal justice system. Yes. It's overly crippling. When a case has to run for some cases in the Supreme Court have lasted as long as 30 years. Some land cases in the Supreme Court. Now, this is a murder case, unreported, unverified reports have it that Al-Mustafa did a lot of terrible things when he was in the DMI. Even before he got to becoming the chief security officer of Abacha. Why I say unverified is because the courts have not verified this. So, but the law is something that, how can you put it? The law is two-edged, two-edged sword and all of that, because your case is as strong as your evidence. If you don't have evidence, like we heard that a particular judge said, well, between you and I know that you committed this crime. But because I don't have evidence before me, to convict you, I'm going to let you go.
And that's the law.
And that's the law. That's the law for you. So in this case, well, the courts have found that, but because of lack of procedural integrity, the judge had to strike it out. Unfortunately for Al-Mustafa. But for the families that lost loved ones, it's unfortunate for them. But due to lack of evidence, you cannot say that this man is culpable. That is we keep going back. That is the law for you. That's the law. That's the law for you. Well, I think we should come to some form of closure about this matter. But my payoff line in all of this is that every unpunished murder takes away something, from the security of the living being. If this man committed this crime and he walks away a free man, it brings to notice the fact that another person could kill another person and still walk away.
That's true.
It's quite unfortunate.
All right, quite unfortunate indeed. Let's take a minute. Let's run to the papers, but that will be after this break. Newspaper headlines coming up shortly. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now let's dive into newspaper headlines now. Makinde rules out, this is from the Punch newspaper now. Makinde rules out defection plans after meeting Tinubu. And then other headlines there. CJ declines to probe Fubara. Speaker heads to appeal court. Supreme Court closes Kudirat Abiola's murder case. Frees Al-Mustafa. All right. And abductions. U.S. demands action. FG vows to track bandits. Ribadu meets U.S. envoys as Washington pressures Abuja on insecurity. Mother recounts giving birth in Kaduna kidnappers hideout. And then some of the headlines here. Tinubu approves commercial oil drilling in Ogun. Attack scare. Police deploy officers to top Lagos schools. It's we're getting closer home. Okay. Well, those are the headlines on the cover page of the Punch newspaper.
And on the front page of The Guardian, the lead story is how poor services, high cost, easy drug access, fuel addiction crisis. Court prescribes industrial action as Wike sues FCTA workers. The Guardian, Rivers CJ declines to constitute probe panel against Fubara. Government pledges food security as UN says 35 million Nigerians are at hunger risk. Federal government reiterates religious freedom as report cites 72% of global Christian killings in Nigeria. Christian leaders declare fasting, prayer over Kajaru abduction. Ekiti 2026. Political parties to pay 60 million naira campaign advert fees. Federal government warns against consumer extortion. Orders free installation of 500,000 meters. CSO knocks National Assembly on prolonged recess. Warns Electoral Act delay threatens 2027 poll. ADC affirms Obi, Usman as strong coalition members. These are the top stories in the Guardian newspaper.
Now let's quickly run through the Nigerian Tribune. Ambassadors, Tinubu posts Are to USA, OK to France, Dan Kingari to Turkey. Dalhatu is High Commissioner designate to UK. Fubara, Chief Judge rejects request to constitute impeachment panel. The big story, Kaduna abduction, US wants Nigeria to strengthen protection of Christians. With the riders, Southern Kaduna Christian leaders declare 2-day fasting over safe return of abducted worshippers. Southern Middle Belt leaders, I'll check that again. Southern Middle Belt Leaders Forum wants suspension, thorough investigation of police officials who denied abduction. UN says 35 million Nigerians risk hunger after global funding collapse. Nigeria's cashew export hits $400 million. That's a good one. I am comfortable in PDP. Makinde meets with Tinubu at Villa. Tinubu seals deal with Shell to unlock job forex inflow. I'll check that again for clarity. Tinubu seals deal with Shell to unlock job forex flow. Shell's commitment totaling $9 billion is testimony to confidence in Nigeria's economy. Ojulari. Oil drilling at Ogun Waterside, Olokola deep sea port set to take off. And in the world of health, milk, whole bread diets dramatically reduce cholera infections, coming from experts. And that's it from the Nigerian Tribune.
And that's pretty much how far we can go with newspaper headlines. Don't forget, at 10 o'clock, we'll dive into these papers again, this time around, dissecting them, making you understand the headlines themselves. That's a newspaper review. In the meantime, let's talk about insecurity. Donald Trump is saying they will be hit very hard again. Talking about insecurity in northern Nigeria. Let's talk about this when we come back from this break. Stay with us.
In a world where power shifts with every headline.
In a nation full of questions.
In a world filled with noise, the truth needs the voice.
The policies that shapes our world and the economy that determines our future.
Every hour, every day, the grapevine keeps buzzing.
And together, we are committed to telling the stories that shape our world because your voice is our focus.
Don't forget, our voice matters the most. Let us come together and share our concerns.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice. From the views on the street,
we go to bed empty hunger,
to the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lawn.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV, youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space, exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things that makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. And if you are just joining us, this is VOP This Morning. Now let's get into it. Nigeria's worsening insecurity has once again drawn global outrage after terrorists attacked worshippers in Kaduna, killing Christians and abducting dozens during a church service. Well, reports indicate the assailants demanded an unusual ransom of 17 motorcycles, underscoring the brazen nature of banditry and insurgency in the region. US President Donald Trump has condemned the killings and reassured that they will be dealt with again, while American lawmakers vowed to take action, urging Nigeria to prioritize the protection of Christian communities. The U.S. State Department also pressed Abuja to intensify security measures, warning that repeated attacks on places of worship threaten religious freedom and deepen humanitarian crisis. Meanwhile, Nigerian police controversially claimed there was no evidence the incident occurred, a statement that has fueled anger among victims' families and rights groups who accuse authorities of downplaying the scale of violence. The Northern Chapter of the Christian Association of Nigeria has also asked the government to stop playing politics with the lives of Nigerians, whether Christians or Muslims. As international pressure builds, Nigeria's Foreign Minister Yusuf Turuga attempted to reassure investors, insisting that the country's security challenges are exaggerated and should not overshadow its economic potential. Well, we've been joined in the studio here to help us make sense of this by Dele Fanimo. Dele is a seasoned reporter and political affairs analyst. Good morning to you, Dele, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Okay, beautiful. And we've also been joined virtually by Barrister Eze Eluche. He's an attorney at law and public affairs analyst. Good morning to you, Barrister Eze Eluche.
Well, good morning, Kukuma. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you very much, sir. Pleased to have you on the show. And virtually still, we have Barrister Asim Adam. He's a legal practitioner, civil rights activist. He was the former spokesperson, Chief Beatrice Utubo / Peter Obi campaign organization for the Labour Party in Rivers State in the 2023 general election. Good morning to you, Barrister Asim Adams, and thanks for joining us on VOP this morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Okoro. Good morning, Barrister Eluche. Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Oh, okay, good to have you. Now, we'll also be joined by Mr. Frank Ehiosu from Benin Station. He's an author, political and public affairs analyst. Meanwhile, before he joins, let's come to the studio where we have Mr. Dele Fanimo. Derek, can you help us make sense of this back and forth? Before we talk about Trump coming again with guns a-blazing, I want us to talk about the issue of, when this incident occurred, the first thing we heard from the police authorities and even from the local government chairman was, oh, there was no such incident in Kaduna State, in Kajuru, a place that has become a flashpoint of insecurity in Nigeria. Days after, we got confirmation when Christian Association of Nigeria had to release names of the 177 people abducted. How does it fit into, our handling of communication and intelligence in the fight against terror?
You see, I will not blame the local government chairman. Why I will not blame him is that he may be bereft of proper communication in times of crisis as a major tool in crisis management. Some of these politicians, they just happen on the corridor and they are made whatever by their godfathers. They may not even understand the implication of the moment you become a public office holder. There should be some level of restraints and level of maturity you will display to at least show that you can measure up to that position. In most cases in Nigeria, you find out that a lot of these political actors are not primed for the kind of position they find themselves. So I would rather excuse that local government chairman. Now, coming to the police, for the first time, I faulted Hundeyi. He was a very good public affairs manager when he was in Lagos State as the state PRO of the police. And I wouldn't have expected its a position that nobody was kidnapped. As the first PRO resident in Abuja, the first thing you do if there is any inquiry, either from journalists or from other quarters, is to connect with the state PRO of that state and find out if the state PRO is not able to give you information right there and then. You call the radio, you radio the DPO. There are other communication gadgets within the force that are different from the conventional telephone lines. So you should have called the DPO to give you SITREP. SITREP means situation report at that time before you come up to tell whoever is making inquiries that nobody was kidnapped. It was in bad taste, and it was like you are undermining the security of that particular state rather than trying to de-escalate insecurity in that place. So having said that, there should be some level of restraint on the side of the force when issues like this happen. Because most times the media practitioner that will come to you to ask questions, he already has his facts. He just wants to have official position on what he already has. For instance, if I have to ask you that around Oshodi this morning there was a bedlam, something should tell you that for me to ask you, I have information. I just wanted official clearance. Okay. If you cannot give me immediately, tell me to hold on for a while, that you get back to me. Okay, all right.
So that is to that. But yes, now to the issue at hand, it's still back and forth. Khan said 177. From official quarters, they said 163. But the question is, even if it's 163, if you had 163 cows from one location to the other, there should be some level of rumbles that would draw the attention of people around those routes to show that something must be going on that is unusual. Not to talk of human beings. And these are people that were worshippers, which means
the youngest person, according to that report, was 6, and the oldest person 74. So how would you take 74 people from not just one church, 3 churches?
And the police will not know.
And nobody will know. Nobody will.
And when people report to the police,
You are not saying
without making excuses for David Hundeyin. I'm thinking that the first reporting level in the police authority was the DPO, who first of all said, "Look, there was no kidnap."
You see,
and probably David might have gotten or received information from him.
As a matter of fact, that DPO by now will be facing reprimand.
Okay.
Because in the first instance, the DPO has no right to even talk to the media. They're not supposed to talk to the media.
Okay.
If you want to go through the proper channel. And the journalists also should also understand that that is not the proper channel. If you have to take that information from the DPO, you take it without mentioning it.
All right. Now let's go to Barrister Eze Luche. Barrister Eze Luche, we also have information, one of the journalists that visited the scene after the incident was on my show, Political Lens, yesterday. And he said he also had information that, as a matter of fact, that when journalists when it had been confirmed, that there was a kidnap of about over 170 people or so, we have conflicting reports. That when journalists went there, that the police authorities, and government officials stopped them and blocked them from accessing that community, that Kurminwali community in Kaju local government area of Kaduna State. Why do you think the government is trying to hide something by trying to restrain journalists, from accessing a crime scene? Why would a government do a thing like that? If you understand all of this, can you help us untie it? Because it's like a big knot for us now.
Yeah, thank you very much. Taking up from what Mr. Afonimo said from your studio, I think the proper person to have asked was actually the local DPO. I mean, I don't know, the whole problem of security goes to the roots of the Nigerian Constitution. It's the root cause of most of our problems. Why do I say so? You have a Nigerian Constitution that situates policing powers in some characters in Abuja, the state federal capital, and you have to get information from them relating to what has happened in my village. That is preposterous. The ideal situation should have been, you first of all go to the county police. If there is even a village police, they are the best people positioned to respond, and not some character in Abuja. That was why Benjamin Hundeyin goofed miserably, because he was talking about what he absolutely has no clue about. It's not his fault. It's the fault of the Nigerian Constitution that situates all policing powers in some people in Abuja who don't understand the local terrain. And regards the fencing up of journalists, you see, many of us have come to the conclusion that the Nigerian state, particularly under this APC dispensation, is in collaboration and is complicit with most of the vile criminal acts we are seeing. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, if there is a crime scene, identified crime scene, you isolate the particular crime scene from intruders, so that you're able to gather evidence and whatnot. But not an entire village, not the entire locality, not to prevent journalists from going to ask questions or the people around. It could have, the churches could have been cordoned off so that you can maybe do fingerprinting, but we don't do that stuff in this country. So there was absolutely no need for the police and government authorities to prevent journalists, except that they want to continue to on information. And this has been a recurring factor. With regards to how they were able to move hundreds of people across, you see, right from the days of Chibok and the various mass abductions, even St. Mary's in Niger and other schools, you see clear evidence of government collaboration and complicity. You cannot tell me that you moved 300 people or more than 300 in Chibok or in St. Mary's in Niger State, or in this instance, and the police who are manning checkpoints every now and then, extorting from civilians, will claim they have no clue. It only leads to one conclusion. And that conclusion is based on the fact that this is a recurring problem. The police hierarchy must be aware of this. They must know about it. They are complicit in it, and they cannot deny that allegation. If I was only referring to the Kajuru issue, okay, you say it's an ad hoc event, but no, this is always happening all over the country. And it's very sad that the police keeps on denying. It's akin to what Mr. Tuga was doing in Davos. When he was asked what is the government doing about the attacks on Christians and all that stuff, he went on a frolic of his own, talking a whole load of crap, telling us about Muammar Gaddafi's killing in Libya more than 10 years ago, without mentioning any single thing this government has done to address the state of insecurity, to address Christian genocide. And they want us to think that we are safe in their hands? Right. Come on. That's not the truth. The truth is that this government is complicit.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Barrister Eze Eluche. Now, let's bring in Barrister Asim Adams into this conversation. Barrister Adams, we have a situation where on the 25th of December, guns went ablazing in Sokoto State. Why? Because Nigeria has been designated as a country of particular concern by the Trump administration, and they want to help Nigeria, to take out terrorists and bandits, kidnappers, and all of that. And Nigerian government said, oh, okay, they've been talking, holding discussions back and forth with United States government officials. And instead of having some kind of a tour, we see the terrorists double down, kidnapping over 170 people in Kajuru local government area of Kaduna State. Barrister Adams, do you know what is going on? Can you help us make sense of that incident? At the backdrop of the fact that Trump says, look, we are still going to do more. Why do you think that these terrorists have doubled down? Are they calling his bluff or what?
Let me tell you something. It is even incredulous that you have 170 people. Do you know what 170 in number is? If you want to count stones, 170 stones in that your studio, the whole place will be filled up. Now you're not talking about human beings. How were they carted away? Did they use train? Did they use bicycles? Did they use trucks? Did they use Molue to take these people out? That is one question. The northern part of Nigeria must explain to the world what exactly they are doing with these incidents of kidnapping, abduction, etc. The politics they are playing there, it is only those in the north that knows exactly what they are doing. And they keep doing this thing 1, 2, 3 times on and on. So there is a hand, or there are hands of the powerful people behind this kidnapping and adoptions. Those people either want to dead Trump or they want to destroy Nigeria as a country. We don't know. But certainly it's a horrendous or whatever. Now, let me tell you why I am not surprised. I don't even know why Khan is even talking about Nigeria police information. Which police correct information do you want to get? Now, in police, one of the problems we have been having about this insecurity problem is lack of intelligence gathering and coordination.
Well, we seem to have a glitch in the network.
You have the area commander in that particular area. How come? Can you hear me now?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
How come that 107 people taken out and the divisional police officer is not even aware? Maybe there is no police station in that particular area. Because this is one of the problems, because in most of the villages being ravaged by these abductions, there are no government presence. Maybe there's no police station. Maybe there's no even police checkpoint around there, 100 kilometers away from that place. So that is why people can come in, take 170 people into the forest, and we begin to debate.
All right, then.
Now, the Nigerian police is complicit in this. Me, I don't know why Khan is making a fuss out of this. Me, I cannot rely. Even if police confirm the information, I will reconfirm and reconfirm. Because I don't trust the Nigerian police.
All right.
As I told somebody yesterday, I said, if I have any personal attack on myself, I will not call the police. I will do what I call self-defense, and I will do what I call self-help to protect myself. Because Nigerian police is not an institution to rely on. Please. So I really don't understand all these things.
Well, coming from a lawyer, I'm sure you understand the implication of self-help.
That is me speaking.
Yes,
that is me. I have the right to do that.
And I'm shocked that you're saying that, because somebody else might listen to you this morning and feel, okay, I also can resort to self-help. If I feel
that is myself. It is myself I'm talking about. I didn't say people should do that. That is to tell you I've lost faith in the security apparatus in this country.
Well, Barrister, you're not the only one who has lost faith in the security apparatus of this country. A lot of Nigerians have lost faith in the security apparatus securing their lives, and a lot of people are thinking about resorting to self-help. But the question we always ask is, how far will that take us? Will that not make... It
will take me somewhere, because self-defense is a legal option for me.
All right.
I can do self-defense. So when I say self-help, I'm talking about self-defense.
Self-defense, absolutely.
I have to defend myself.
Absolutely. And, there's this conversation around, let me stay with you for a little bit, Barrister Asim Adams. There's this conversation around state policing. Like, okay, if state policing had been introduced, it probably will help this incident, because we know that the Commissioner of Police, Mohammed Rabiu, who was one of those who visited the scene, and also in the company of the local government chairman, Dauda Madaki, said, look, there were no signs of a kidnap that took place there. And some have said, let's hurriedly introduce state police, as if the people being kidnapped, if those in the police force have their friends and family, being affected, then they will give their best to ensure that those lives are saved. Do you think that's something that we should hurriedly consider at this moment?
See, let me tell you, I have listed before options open to government to solve insecurity, if not immediately, but quickly in the future. Community policing is one of them, which is the state police. Yes, I support it, but how do you set it up? It's not going to be easy. It's going to take some time. So you resort to community policing. That is number one. Number two is that government must be present in every inch of the Nigerian nation. Like in this Kajuru area, you'll be very shocked that there's no police station there. You'll be very shocked that there's no government present, like I said before. That is number two. The third one is intelligence gathering. Technology has become the real way of gathering intelligence right now. You don't need to be in Sokoto for you to know what is happening there. I am communicating with you from Port Harcourt. You are in Lagos. It is technology. The same way, if I book a e-hailing a cab, I just type in my name and my location. They will locate me where I am. So you must, go into technology to tackle this. The other one is that unemployment has to be tackled. The fourth one is that government must punish those that have been arrested, and let us see them being punished. And if you give punitive measures to them, the rest people will not begin to come in to engage in it. But when you begin to say you want to rehabilitate them, what they call the name? They want to radicalize, whatever, as the case may be. It's a funny, whatever. It's a mad fool. So people will be encouraged to do more. So these are the things the government has to do, aside from state policing. I support state policing.
All right, thank you very much.
But it's going to take time, because you must need the National Assembly for you to get that consent to be to run such.
Thank you very much, Barrister Asim Adams. Now let's bring Frank into the conversation. Frank Ehioshu, who joins us from our Benin station. Frank, good morning to you. I also understand that we have Ogbaje Besiru also joining us from Abuja. We'll come to you very shortly. Do stay with us. Frank, good morning to you. Welcome to the conversation. Now, this issue of numbers, isn't it concerning that we have, they said 177 and then 163 and then 9 escaped? I mean, if you minus 163 from 177, you get a different number. You get 14. You don't get 9. So this conflicts of numbers, human beings abducted, doesn't that pose a greater problem? That's on one side. Now, my other question to you, I hope you can remember and respond to both, is the issue of Donald Trump issuing, threats again. Look, we will continue to hit Nigeria, and we will hit hard this time. Where does that put us as a country? Go ahead, please, Frank.
On the first issue you raised, it is quite infinitesimal compared to the purport of the core issue at stake. The issue of numbers, for me, is not even secondary, it's tertiary, however shameful it is, because every life is important. Nobody should be even injured by an unknown person, how much less people in their hundreds being kidnapped in a country that has a government. It beats, I can't describe the situation. You see, I just put myself in a different country or nation, and I turn on my TV and I hear such announcements. I can bet on the fact that even in places like Togo, Niger Republic, even Sudan, where there is war, they will be shocked to hear such news. 177 people kidnapped, different locations. First of all, this gives further credence to the allusion by John Campbell and his co-author about 9 years ago on the state of Nigeria, when Nigeria was classified like countries like Congo and a few other countries in the sub-region that are classified as failed states. Nothing describes our state as being failed than these events that unfold on a daily basis. In countries where you have gangsterism and mafia groups operating, like Mexico, you hear some bits once in a while of mass kidnap, but you can't hear of this kind of thing that happens in Nigeria. Sometimes you may hear that they've gone to certain communities, they arrive at neighborhoods, they took out maybe like 20 people or kidnapped 40 people, and it even happens rarely. It's once in a blue moon. But in Nigeria, in the past 3 months, the number of people that have been kidnapped in terms of mass kidnapping, I'm sure that it would have scaled over 1,500 or 2,000. How do you explain it? It is just unfortunate. On the second issue you mentioned, concerning Donald Trump's vituperations, I can tell you free of charge. I simply take it as another layer of mockery of Nigeria. Is a louder way of calling Nigeria a disgraced nation. That is the truth. You know, the last time he called us a disgrace, what he said, however appealing it may sound, as if he's saying something in the interest of Nigerians, is actually confirming the fact that we are simply a bunch of disgrace in the Committee of Nations. That is the executive summary. And I repeat it as we are here on this program. While we are talking right now, these guys can go and operate in 5 different locations. In fact, in 100 different locations in Nigeria. I've said it before on this platform, that government in Nigeria is not government in reality. Government simply is a mannequin.
All right.
A mannequin that is displayed in city centers to display ego. That's what we have as government.
All right, thank you very much.
The common purpose of government cannot find expression apart from a bit of it in city centers.
All right then, thank you very much.
In the 36 states of the Federation,
all right,
go to all the local governments outside the state capitals.
Yes.
You barely have police stations that can coordinate an area of, say, maybe 500 meters. I'm not saying kilometers. How much less a local government at large? Nigeria is a failed state. But the reality is telling at us why government lives in denial.
All right, and Frank Ahioshun, thank you very much for your submission there. I've got Ogbaje Basiru Shitu. I hope I got the name right. Welcome to the conversation. Good morning to you. Well, we'd like to establish communication with you, so you might need to unmute your device as you respond to us. Now, let's talk about, the conversation around the blame game that we see being thrown around now. Nigerians are being kidnapped, and on this very channel, we had an interview with Sheikh Gumi in the heat of, everything. And he did say, look, if Trump comes to Nigeria, Muslims, that's how he puts it, will raise up arms against Christians. Is that what we are seeing? Can we see, would you say that is what is playing out now? Because we've seen an increase in abductions. We've seen an increase in attacks on churches. And then to what end would you say, in your own thoughts now, this is?
Thank you very much. I don't know if I'm audible enough.
Yes, we can hear you, but you just might take your volume a notch higher.
It's okay. Thank you very much. Well, I think to begin with, the attack on Christians and Muslims alike have been there long before the Trump announcement, sometimes in October. And I think what is happening now is no different from what happened back then before the failed announcement took place. So I don't see the current challenges as a response, to what Trump said, just as Gumi has started on the system that you say. I don't see that as a response. If the attacks have been there, and they are now, there is nothing to say that the attackers are responding to President Trump's, announcement and warning and threats to Nigeria and all of that. But I think all of that is what I think is a distraction, so to say. We are refusing to focus on the most important thing here, which, number one, the action of the U.S. in Nigeria, okay, following the threat issued by Donald Trump. Why many people in some quarters, including those in the Gumi quarters, feel that it is an infringement on the sovereignty of Nigeria, and others from the other quarters feel it is a welcome development. I, to some extent, don't have a problem with the threat, but I have a problem with the narrative that is pushed alongside the threat. The narrative that Christians are being murdered in Nigeria. Not to mention, too, that Muslims alike have had their own share of terrorism. As I sit here, I can tell you the number of mosques that have been attacked over the past 6 months, the number of worshippers that have been killed and abducted in mosques over the past 6 months. But we have this, do I call it a culture of not representing or telling our own stories? I think it was popular writer Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie who said that there is something called the danger of a single story.
Okay.
If you don't tell your story...
Nasiru, let me ask you a question. Let me paint a scenario here. Let's say you and I live side by side each other in the same compound, all right? But with different apartments. And armed robbers come attack the compound every night. And you choose not to cry, not to cry out for help. And I say, oh, look, these armed robbers are attacking me. They've been coming to my house night after night. I need help. Are you going to ask me to keep quiet? I'm not the only one being attacked? Or are we going to look for a solution to stop the robbers from attacking us?
Now, it's very easy for you to say, by virtue of my silence, that I may be culpable in the attack, or that I have a hand in the attack, if that is what you're saying. But let me give you an instance. August 2025, there was an attack on a mosque in Angwan Matau, a village in Katsina State. 27 people were killed. Before somebody will say that the Muslim community is not crying out, and this is not me pledging allegiance to the Muslim community, I'm being as neutral as possible here. That attack was not only reported on Al Jazeera, okay, an international organization equally said there should be justice served for the 27 people. Nothing has been said about that particular case.
My question actually is, what does it matter what religion is being attacked the most? The fact of the matter is Nigerians are being attacked. Nigerians are chased out.
Exactly my point. But look at the narrative that is being pushed. If you listen to the narrative that is being pushed by the
US. If a country
US.
is coming to help, why can't we just embrace the help that is coming?
Exactly my point. So no, even the country that is coming to help is not helping matters with the legacy, with the narrative that they are pushing. If you're coming to help me as a nation, then help me irrespective of my religious affiliation. Nigerians are the ones who have been attacked, not Christians, not Muslims. But the narrative that is pushed by Trump is that Christians are the ones being attacked and the ones who are responsible are Muslims. That is the narrative I have a problem with.
Okay, all right, Mr. Shitu. No, talking about narrative, I'd like for us to, if you have information, just help us, provide this detail. Do you have a situation anywhere in this country where you have had a horde of Christians go attack a Muslim community or a mosque and raise it down? A horde of Christians kidnap like 100, 200 Muslims and take them away and ask for ransom? We have had situations where people are killed in cold blood, they are videoed and they shout a certain, they give a pair of line, that represents a certain religion. Have we had that within the Christendom where, people are held together, bound and throats sliced, and they say, in the name of a certain person, we are doing this? Do you have such situations? Please help us provide if you have.
Now, I think this is where we ourselves are getting it wrong. Before Trump, we have an internal problem. And the internal problem is that we feel it is actually Muslims that are attacking Christians. So we were even the ones driving the narrative before Trump came into the picture. Now, let me come in here, not even as a Muslim, but the fact that somebody bears a particular name does not mean that he's aligned to a particular religion. I have seen Christians who bear Suleiman. Anybody can come out under the guise of Islam and perpetrate an evil. Say something that he knows, because Allah Akbar is very easy to say. Even a Christian can shout Allah Akbar. Even an idol worshipper can shout Allah Akbar. So there is nothing to show that the people perpetrating this evil are even Muslims in the first place. So we were driving this narrative, which is a wrong narrative, long before Trump even came into the picture, which is a very wrong. I'll continue to say it. It's a very wrong narrative, and it is something that I see as is taking us away from the main point. We are supposed to be attacking the issue, which is terrorism, on all Nigerians, irrespective of our religious affiliation. So nobody has anything to prove that the people who are actually carrying out these dastardly acts are Muslims. Is it because of their name? Is it because of their dressing? Is it because of what they chant? Anybody can dress in a certain manner, just so they can paint a bad image of a particular set of people.
Mr. Shitu, we've had this arguments over and over about the religion that is behind all of this. But away from that, the attacks by the bandits in Kaduna seems to be a direct affront to the U.S. government. It is that the bandits are pretty much saying we can attack, we can maim, we can kidnap, and there's pretty much nothing we can do about that. What do you think should be the direct response of the Nigerian government? Because as you can see, after the Christmas Day bombing in Sokoto, these attacks intensified. And we actually thought that, or we expected our Nigerian military, to harp on the precedent already set by the US to do something good. But over time, these guys still become more emboldened. So what do you think our government, what do you think should be the right response to all of this, responses to all of this? Did you get my question, Mr. Shitu? Okay, I think we lost him there. Maybe we should bring it back to Mr. Fanimo. I said the recent attacks, by these bandits, pretty much is an affront to the...
Well, I think there's a glitch in the network, yeah. Okay. So I think Shitu seeks to respond now. But if you have the question, we're having a bit of a network delay, so you just might respond now before we come to the studio. Shitu. All right, then let's bring the conversation to the
let me
studio.
put you on the hot seat. The recent attacks, have pretty much been an affront on the U.S. government, that we can kidnap, we can kill, we can maim, and there's nothing you can do. And these guys have become more emboldened since the Christmas Day bombing in Sokoto. What do you think should be our government's, response to this? What is the right response to all of this?
You see, it's not as if they are more emboldened. But what they are trying to do is to show the American government that we are now dispersed unlike when we were static and you can target us and annihilate us. But right now, what we see is either those 163 people that were kidnapped may have been used and are still being used as human shields for stability before they launch another attack. We have not heard. And you would wonder, because I sat back and looked at all these things as they unfold. What is the fraction of 27 million on 163 people kidnapped? And an average of maybe 400 or 300.
29 million deposits. That's what they said.
Let's even agree without conceding that even
deposits.
Deposit.
Okay.
The antecedents of these people, these kidnappers, is the more the number, because they assume that it is the state that will pay such a huge ransom. But in this case,
but we were made aware by someone that was on ground. He said some weeks back, about a week or two back, in that same community, about 5 people were kidnapped, and then some monies were paid, about 20 million or thereabouts, and the community raised it themselves. They raised it amongst themselves, and that was not reported.
I think 20 people were kidnapped.
20 people.
20 people.
20 people.
20
Thank you very much.
And they paid
so
5
on the
million.
average, they paid
5 million for 20 people.
Okay.
Now, the 29 million naira they are asking for, that same guy gave this information that the 20 million naira is not ransom. Is that in the course of the operation, they lost some motorbikes, and lost some equipment. So the 29 million naira actually is to replace their motorbikes.
Before they were 17 motorbikes now.
Yes, before they start talking about ransom.
It's clearer now.
Isn't that audacious?
Really?
Now, you see, the point is, they are likely to use those victims as human shields, because no right-thinking government want to use area battle when you have 163 people in captivity. The collateral damage will be too much. 2, they are now dispersed. They are no longer staying in one particular place. So it is difficult. It will require a lot of intelligence to isolate them wherever they are for attack. Now, for the optics, don't forget that these people, they also have a propaganda machinery. And that is one of the reasons why I said those people that claim to be close to terrorists, like Sagazalo, what did they call his name?
Sagazola, yes.
That comes up every time to tell us insider information about these terrorists, who they call bandits. I don't call them bandits, they are terrorists. It should be invited by the DSS, because this crime is against the state. And the function of DSS is to protect the state against this kind of insurgents. So he should be called to explain his relationship with these people.
Zagazola basically just reports incidents that happen. It could be a journalist that, that covers incidents.
Check out his reportage. You will know that he has insider information on ransom, on the number of hostages. Sometimes he gives the names of the...
Is that a crime? To have insider information if you are reporting such incidents?
For which organization?
Zagazola is an organization. It's a printer.
What I'm saying is, just like Gumi, this man understands the modus operandi of this.
Which he has revealed.
Much more than...
which he has revealed.
Much more than an average journalist would know. We should be called to explain his contact, his relationship with some of these bandits.
Okay.
Because it could also provide information that could lead to a breakthrough in this fight against insurgents. But the angle of Trump is American government will not be dissuaded from going ahead with what they want to do because of the fact that these people are showing some kind of bravado.
Okay.
They are not going to be dissuaded.
Okay.
Because they would have superior intelligence to be able to isolate those that they feel. Because they are not going after the itinerary bandits or terrorists. They are going after the kingpins.
Okay, the ones that are stationed.
That are stationed. So
right.
once you take them out, and government is also pushing to the extent of isolating the sponsors.
Okay,
Now,
the sponsors, that's another issue that will come.
That's another
in a
issue.
bit.
So if they are able to isolate the sponsors, then the source of funding will
be
dry
cut off. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Adele Fanimo. Let's run back to Barrister Eze Eluche. Barrister Eze, and I hope that you are still with us in this program. Can you hear me, sir?
I'm hearing you. Go ahead. I'm hearing you.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. I want us to find a way to establish the fact that, look, whether Nigerians are being killed in their numbers, Muslims and Christians, do you by any way, are you able to help us, to determine or decide whether there is actual Christian genocide in Nigeria? This debate has been ongoing. Some people say, oh, there is no Christian genocide. Others say there is, and some say, well, Nigerians are being killed in their numbers. What is it for you, sir? And can you help us tell us why you think that it is or it's not?
Well, thank you very much. On the first hand, what anybody listening to this program will realize why Nigeria is indeed a failed state. In fact, some of us refer to Nigeria as a contraction, because the issues being discussed here are just mind-boggling. In a state where we are supposed to have a police inspector general, in fact, we have a police force, we have a directorate of state security that's supposed to guard us, we have an army, we have a customs, and we are talking about hundreds being kidnapped, things you won't even hear in Somalia. And in that same instance, the president is gallivanting about the world, saying he's inviting investors. We are wasting funds saying we're having a Nigerian house in Davos when the house is burning. And mind you, foreigners are looking at this, are seeing what is going on. So the only people that come to invest in Nigeria are criminals who are coming to exploit. But back to your question about Christian genocide. You see, there's been so much issue that Christians are being killed, Muslims are being killed, pagans are being killed. That is, the issue is, are Christians being targeted for their faith and being killed to exterminate them either in part or in whole? I'm using the definition of genocide. So if the answer to this question is yes, then certainly there is a Christian genocide going on. I was listening to that fellow who was talking about it's the problem we've had. Christians can answer Muslim names and go and rob and kill. And come on. What kind of talk is that? Have you seen globally? I mean, it's not even only Nigeria. Globally, in the Middle East, in Europe, in everywhere, the only groups you see terrorizing others is just the Islamic Muslims. The 911 attacks, the 7th of July attacks in London, attacks in France, attacks all over. Who does it? Have you ever seen Buddhists? Have you ever seen pagans? Have you ever seen other religions collect or come together and go and attack others? The answer is no. So don't even bring that discussion here about whether it's Muslims or Christians or pretending. And the reality is this: there is Christian genocide going on in Nigeria. That is basic. There might also be genocides against ethnic nationalities. In the Middle Belt, there has been a systematic ethnic cleansing amounting to genocide going on. When you see people being killed and they are wiped out of their environment and somebody else takes over their natural habitats, what is that? You place the original inhabitants in IDP camps, internally displaced persons camps, and they are there for years. That is why some of us actually say the same government that is providing these IDP camps for Nigerians within Nigeria is complicit in this genocide, and they cannot deny it. Instead of even trying to address the issue, what is Nubu Ribadu and Bola Ahmed Tinubu doing? They're going to spend money to bribe the U.S. government officials in the name of lobbying with over $9 million. But the mistake they are making is this: they don't understand that the U.S. government has changed. It is no longer business as usual. They should be listening to. They should be looking at the tweets of Mr. Donald Trump, because what he says he will do it. So if you like spend $1 billion on lobbyists, where some Nigerians will have also taken their own commission from it, and think you're going to avoid the consequences of killing your own people. You won't avoid it. It will certainly happen. Now, nobody's praying for attacks on Nigeria. But if that is the only way you can stop this ongoing Christian genocide, where the police, the military, the DSS is complicit, let it be done.
All right, then.
You and I, we think we are free today. We are on TV. We are talking. Have we taken a drive to even within Lagos State? Drive down to Krodu, you can be kidnapped. And somebody is coming here to tell us that it's not Muslims, it's not Christians.
All right, then. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Barrister Eze Eluche. Yes, in the news report today, which we will get to during newspaper review, there's a need for security presence in schools. That's according to the police in Lagos. Oh well, let's. I do believe that we can take that as your concluding thoughts. So let's go to Barrister Asim Adams. Let's have your concluding thoughts on this conversation before we go into the next one, which will be River State. Talk to us.
See, the government, in my opinion, and the security agencies are complicit. If not just being complicit, they are being violent in this issue of insecurity in Nigeria and trying to find solutions to it. And I believe that when a government is unable to protect its people, Section 14 sub 2B says security and welfare. Security first, then welfare. And if the government cannot provide it, then government at all levels and those who are there should resign. In fact, it should even constitute gross misconduct. I've said this, that for Tinubu and the governors in those states being ravaged by terrorism and banditry, if they could not protect their people, that is gross misconduct under our constitution, because it is a constitutional provision that you must provide security. And when you are not able to provide it, the best thing is to leave that place or you'll be disgraced out of office. So they should take issue of security very seriously. That is my take on this and my concluding thoughts. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Now, Basiru Shichitu Obaje, let's have your concluding thoughts on this one, please.
All right, thank you very much. Just to buttress on what second to the last speaker said, it is concluding statement. The thing there is, I will continue to say that what we have in Nigeria is an attack on Nigerians and not an attack targeted on Christians. Because I was expecting him to come out with proof of how the people that are actually committing this crime are Muslims. But he was quoting what happened during the 9/11 attack on the US and all of that. This is not proof enough to suggest that the people carrying out these attacks are Muslims. Let us not deviate from the point, which is attacks on Nigerians. I can give you, like I said, I can give you proof of mosques that have been attacked as well. Can we say that is genocide against Muslims? How about Muslims, clerics that have been kidnapped from their places of worship? Many have been reported in the national dailies. Is it enough for us to say that that is genocide against Muslims? What we have is a national problem. So we should put this religious bigotry aside and face the problem. I have no problem whatsoever with the US intervention in Nigeria. The only problem I have is with the narrative that is being pushed. If the US wants to help, let them come and help Nigeria, not Christians, because even the Muslims are feeling the heat and brunt of what is happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ogbaje Basiru Shitu. Frank Ehioshun, the microphone goes over to you now. Let's have your concluding thoughts and then we'll move on to another conversation.
Yeah, before I end my point, I concur to, in fact, in total, with what the great barrister from Anambra affirmed. Even though the guy who is talking about the fact that it's not about religion, why I appreciate his point. The data is out there. It's unfortunate that there's no time enough. He was challenging that barrister to bring proof. I beg this station, if time could be given subsequently, and let the guy come, he will find data limitlessly, not from outside, from within the Nigerian confines, from our security agencies. We are not blaming a religion per se, but we know what the issues are. That is the truth. I have said it before. Nigeria as a nation state this political system that we practice, this policy that is upheld by our government will take us nowhere but further down the drain. That is the truth. As we are talking today, I'm very convinced that there may be some kidnap going on in different parts of the country still, because government as we have it is simply a mechanism for personal aggrandizement. It's an enterprise for individual upliftment and not for the collective. That is what it is today, unfortunately. Not until we change this political structure that we uphold, we will keep getting worse and worse on every sphere. That is the basic truth.
All right then. All right then. I understand. This will be, well, thank you very much, Frank Hioshin, for your contribution. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Now let's get into another conversation now. Credibility is at stake. Prioritize Electoral Act amendment and good governance. Atiku Okunjo-Iweala to Senate and the federal government. Well, let's talk about this when we come back from this break.
Extraordinary. Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television. VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
Well, thank you very much for joining us again. Now, we'll step away from, the electoral reforms, and let's talk about Rivers State now. Let's take our focus to Rivers State. Now, the political crisis in Rivers State deepened yesterday as the Chief Judge, Justice Simeon Amadi, formally declined the requests of the Rivers State House of Assembly to constitute a 7-member panel to investigate Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odu, over alleged gross misconduct. In a letter addressed to Speaker Martins Amewule, Justice Amadi cited subsisting court injunctions restraining him from acting on the Assembly's resolution, warning that proceeding would amount to contempt of court. The Assembly, dominated by lawmakers loyal to former governor and current FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, had initiated impeachment proceedings earlier this month, accusing Fubara of blackmail and abuse of power. However, the Chief Judge's refusal has effectively stalled the process, throwing the state's political standoff into fresh uncertainty, as it were. Well, while some lawmakers, some stakeholders, including PANDEF and APC leaders, reconciliation, others fear the impasse could destabilize the state's fragile political balance. Now, I would like to get the views of one who is a partaker of what's going on in Rivers State. And by that, I mean as a son of the soil, as it were, one who resides in the state, even though you're not from there. And that's talking about Barrister Asim Adams. Now, you have been following issues in Rivers State. You have resided there for quite some time, so you know what does this mean? What does this mean to the political atmosphere in Rivers State? And can we say this is Uhuru for the governor and his deputy?
Let me tell you, can you hear me?
Yes, of course. Go ahead, please.
It is not yet Uhuru. It is Pyrrhic victory. The chief judge would have done otherwise. It would have been foolhardy for the chief judge to not disobey or contempt an order emanating from his own court. In the hierarchy of the judicature in Rivers State, he's the number one. The judges are under him, and he is the head of that court. So if he goes against the order given by a judge in his own court, is that not nonsensical? Would that not be nonsensical? And will you not be facetious, laughable, like a jocose? So he could have done otherwise. And I was I had an interview with a sister station the other day, and I predicted, I said, the CJ must obey that particular order, otherwise we'll make a mockery of the judicature in Rivers State. Now, Section 287, sub 3 of the 1999 Constitution says that every order's judgment of courts, tribunals, were set up and having whether jurisdiction or not, if they give an order, it must be obeyed. And the CJ did not do anything outside of that. So he has obeyed, working in tandem with Section 287, sub 3. Now, going to your question, whether this has solved the problem. If you read what he said if this order is vacated or this prevailing order from above, etc., from a judiciary hierarchy court, then he will obey as well. So he has done. And let me tell you, the procedure here is this. The matter is coming up on the 26th. And at 26th, we're going to have, three scenarios that are going to happen. First one is that the speaker and his group, they have to go there and vacate that particular order, and which the process is on right now. The second one is that Saint Fubara and his group may be applying for an interlocutory injunction, to restrain them until this particular matter is disposed of, as the case may be. And mind you, that interlocutory will be on motion or notice to the speaker and his group. They must have to answer. So we do not really know. It's just like the piece of the graveyard as it is. Those who are jubilating, well, it's left to them. They can see it as a score or a mileage in their political battle, but I don't think it is. As it is on this matter, I want to say with due respect that Rivers State is very calm. And I want to appreciate all of us, the youth especially here. We're going about our businesses. Nobody is stopping anybody while the politicians fight themselves. In the first instance, I am of the opinion that the two groups should come together and iron these things out for the benefit of the people. Rivers State is suffering. See, I am speaking to you from the capital of Rivers State. The people are suffering. There is grinding unemployment. There is hunger and starvation. There are no infrastructural developments. So the politicians must come together.
Okay.
And iron this thing out. This matter is lingering for too long. You understand? Yes, I have those who I support, but it's no longer helping the economy of this state. Let them come together and do something and resolve this matter amicably for all of us to enjoy Rivers State.
All right, then, thank you very much. So another legal luminary, Barrister Eze Eluchie. Let's get your thoughts on this one. Rivers State, what say ye? Barrister Eluchie, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry for that. My view on the current imbroglio going on in Rivers State is that it has messed up, it has rubbished the democratic experimentation we have in Nigeria. It has exposed the fact that people have to fight electoral haste, electoral robbery at the time the robbery is taking place. If you recollect, during the 2023 elections, we saw the kind of EA1 reports, election reports that came out from Rivers State. Mutilated reports, clearly mutilated, both at the presidential elections and the governorship elections. It was clear that the characters in office now in Rivers State, both the governor and his and the members of the state assembly, were not elected. These are people who robbed and stole their way into office. So the people of Rivers State are now suffering the repercussions of allowing electoral robbery at the time when it occurred. If they had stood firm and said no to this nonsense, then yes, maybe there would have been some violence, some would have lost their lives, but then this descent down the abyss wouldn't have occurred, because it's occurring, and let us not make any mistakes about it. Internally generated, it's externally orchestrated. It is neither Wike nor Fubara. Unfortunately, these people are being used by the man at the center, Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his cohorts, with support of the judiciary. So the problem has never been a Rivers State problem. It is that the federal authorities have seen the kind of cash pots that is self-evident in Rivers State, and they now decide to get into the state and use the resource of the state as they deem fit. And it's not just Buhari, it's not just Tinubu who is doing this. Way back from the time of Peter Odili to Rotimi Amechi to the current governor, Rivers State has always suffered this maladministration because of federal interference in their activities. And I don't know when this thing will stop. But Nigerians should just realize that if you do not resist electoral robbery when it's occurring, you leave the consequences. Rivers State is suffering their own the pangs of that robbery. Even at the national level, we're also doing the same thing. We are suffering the same thing. We are talking of insecurity, talking of high taxation, talking of maladministration in every facet, because Nigerians did not resist electoral fraud when it occurred. And by the way, let us not mince words. Electoral fraud is the worst kind of terrorism, worst kind of armed robbery any society can suffer. Because what it does is that it places misfits, it places criminals actually at the helm of affairs. Because if you got into office via criminal manners, by criminal manipulations, you are in actual fact a criminal. So when you have criminals ruling over a people, this is what you say. This is what you will just see suffering and devastation, not just of the economy, but also of the social life, and it obviates the natural course of things. Because ordinarily, people are encouraged to live well, do well, so you can prosper. But because the wrong elements are ruling over us, you cannot even go to schools and tell children to read hard or to study hard or to be of good behavior. Because when they look around them and they look at who is ruling over them, there is no stimulus to do well or read hard. So it obviates to a societal progress. Nigerians, I mean, maybe I'm sounding like a broken record or whatever, but it has to be impacted on Nigerians that if we don't get our political leadership right, we will continue to have this kind of discussions from now till thy kingdom come. But once we have it right, once we make sure that the right people who we elect get voted in, what is going on in Rivers State will not happen to the people of Rivers State. I was in Rivers State during the Christmas breaks. It is pathetic. It is sad. Because yes, Port Harcourt has a semblance of an urban city. But when you leave Port Harcourt and travel away to Asokotoro, whether it's Abonema, whether it's Tombia, or whether it's even Bonny, I mean, go around Rivers State, you will be shocked with the level of penury and devastation you will see. And why is that so? Because they have allowed misfits, unfits, to rule over them. Next time we learn that and make sure it doesn't happen. Thank you very much.
Impeachment crises are not a new thing in Nigeria. We've seen it happen in Plateau State. We've seen it happen in Ekiti, even at the federal level. But what lessons do you think the River State people, politicians, even the House, what lessons do you think they are refusing to take from all of this?
Unfortunately, again, you can't, because there's a judicial part of the impeachment process. The judicial is that the judicial is, like you know, the NJC is controlled from also the federal level, because the state chief judge will be looking up to what the NJC, which is headed by the chief justice of the federation, will do if he does the wrong things. So when you look at the entire structure of Nigeria, the evil, the rot trickles down from the top. If the chief judge of Rivers State had an old allegiance, old respect to the people he was serving in his state, he may not even have done what he's doing. Even the judge who gave an order that the judiciary should not do what they are mandated to do. Because even the order stopping the chief judge from empaneling the 7-man panel is itself unconstitutional.
All right.
It is why I say it's unconstitutional is this. The judge is interfering in legislative functions, which it has no business to do. So the rot is national, and it's because of the structure of the Nigerian constitution that places everything in the center. Okay. Giving Nigeria the false name of a federation when we are a unitary state.
All right.
It's so sad. Yes.
Very sad indeed, according to Barrister Ezeluche, because we keep going back to problems of with the constitution, Nigerian constitution. Yeah. Well, that will be a story for another day. Now, let's go to Abuja, where we still have Mr. Shitu that joined us. Mr. Shitu, I'd like for you to help us. You know, you have followed the conversation, not just the conversation, you have also followed what's been going on in Rivers State. Are you able to look into the future, maybe with the power of, you know...
hindsight.
Oh, okay. I understand that we've lost connection with Mr. Shitu. So we'll go to Benin, where we still have Mr. Frank Jesus. Mr. Jesus, I would like for you to help us, you know. If you had the power of foresight, you know, there's this thing that we call it again. On top of my head, I can't recall it. If you can look into the future, can you help us where or how all of these things will end? I mean, the struggle for the control of Rivers' political structure between Godfather Nyesom Wike and Godson Sim Fubara, and the fact that people are bringing the president into the mix. And I ask this question again: why do people think that the president should be overly interested in what is going on in Rivers State? I mean, talking about the vote outlay of Rivers State, it's just about 251,000 naira. I keep saying naira every time. Just 251,000 votes that they gave the president in 2023. Just like 20,000 more than Ekiti State, the list in the Southwest that gave the president 231,000 votes. Why should the president be overly concerned in what goes on in Rivers State, or who controls the political structure of Rivers State?
The president definitely would be not just overly, but terribly concerned about what goes on in Rivers State.
Okay.
Rivers State is very strategic. You can't put Rivers State out of the equation of Nigerian politics for any reason. Apart from being a central point in terms of the resources they have access to, oil, money, so-called, one of the most, not just one of the most, actually the most populated state, as in the South-South, is the richest. In terms of political reach, you, of course, cannot equally underestimate it. So the president, of course, has special interest in Rivers State. Very, very special interest. Actually, he has interest in all the states of the country. But Rivers State is actually a priority because of what they bring to the table. In 2007, but for OBJ putting his foot on the ground to go against, in quotes, convention and impose his will, Yar'Adua will not have emerged as president. Everybody knows that without dealing with the resources from Rivers State would have been the one to glitch it. That's why you have seen that since 1999 till date, there's no governor from there after serving 2 terms has not attempted to go for presidency because of what they have access to. But that aside, the crisis in Rivers State as it is, however you tend or want to undermine the president, the buck stop on the table. I have said it the opt-in time before, that the presidential system we run in Nigeria, what we call democracy, is actually a network of empires. So what will determine what will happen in Rivers State, if I were to go by the fundamentals of prognostication, is simply the president, not Wike or Fubara. They are the mercy of the supreme emperor. You have a local emperor who unfortunately presently is at the disadvantage. In the Nigerian system, normally we have 2 categories of emperors. We have the emperor at the federal level and we have the emperor at the subnational level. But in this case, we have an emperor that is disadvantaged because the political system, like the great barrister affirmed a while ago, that brought them up is defective. It's an unfortunate machination. So those who regulate the machination are the ones that have ensured that the emperor in Rivers State has a disadvantage. Of course, if I say those, you know, the people in question, the Wikes and folks within his employ. Now, the way the Nigerian system is run, what will determine the trajectory of Rivers State in the next few weeks, few months, and a year as the case may be, is the president's interest as to what will give him the best of votes from Rivers State in 2027. That is the truth. Every day or every other day, it may seem as if one person seems to be getting some bit of advantage or the other. But all of them swing within the pendulum of the president's disposition. That is the truth. The governor, unfortunately, I don't pity for him because Rivers people are the primary victims. If their votes were to count, who knows? These guys may not have been there.
Okay.
So those who impose themselves on the people are the ones having crisis among themselves, and in the long run, the people are still victims. But the state cannot be left to go fallow just on that note. That is the reason why, in my opinion, the president should intervene duly.
All right.
Place premium on the fundamentals of rule of law. That is what matters.
All right, that is what
people
matters.
should not be happy.
That is
or
what
excited
matters,
about
according
the
to
junction.
Mr. Frank Eheshu. That is what matters. Frank, we are out of time, unfortunately. So let's come back to the studio and get final thoughts from Mr. Dele Fanimo. Mr. Dele Fanimo, let's take our resource. You know, should the president, in terms of votes, I keep going back to this vote of a thing. Shouldn't the president be hustling for a state like Kano State? Well, we see him do that. But why is it River State? I did an analysis the other time, you know. If you come to the Southwest, or your state gave APC 444,000 votes. Ondo State, Ondo State, Ogun State, and which other state?
Ekiti.
Oh, no, Ekiti gave 231,000. 20,000 less than what Rivers gave. Rivers gave only 251,000 votes. So why the force about River State? And apart from the results, should the president be overly concerned about what goes on in River State? Looking at 2027 in view.
Well, as of today, the pendulum seems to swing to APC.
Okay.
Having brought in the governor and the legislatures to APC. But then, a president that needs total votes, that will not want to go back into electoral college, will not be unmindful of whatever can happen within now and the election period.
Okay.
So, even if it's just 100,000 votes from Rivers, it's still a lot. And it's not just 100,000. What about the 25% we're talking about? It will be better and it will be total for a candidate who seeks election to even route to the point that opponents will not even get up to 25.
If we look at the 25% you are talking about, if the president scored 0 votes in River State in the 2023 general election, he still will have won the election because with those 251,000, if you added it to Atiku Abubakar, Atiku will still not win.
Now, let me now tell you something about elections. It's like those days when we were in school. Until you see your results, you never can tell the ones you will fail and the ones you will pass.
Okay.
Because sometimes fate will just cheat on you, and the one that you have that confidence that you will pass, you end up failing. Okay. So at the point of election, you can't predict what will happen. So the best bet is to go for the kill.
To go for the kill. Thank you very much. I'll take that as a concluding thought. Now let's go back to Barrister Ezeluchi and get his concluding thoughts. In 30 minutes, sir, if you can.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. I beg your pardon.
The message is always the same. Next time when we have elections, we ensure that those who we vote for, they get into office. And whatever has to be done must be done to ensure that the votes are not thwarted. I mean, whether it's from the judiciary or from INEC or from the security agencies, because if we allow them to thwart our decisions or our votes, we're going to have 4 years to suffer for it. I mean, that's my last take on this.
All right, thank you very much, Barrister Ezeluchi. And to you, Mr. Frank Eheshu, can you use 30 seconds to give us your concluding thoughts?
My concluding thought is very simple. This system cannot give us what it doesn't have. If we don't rejig it to ensure that the people's choice is supreme, we will just be beating around the bush even a decade from now on the same note.
All right, and thank you very much, Mr. Frank Eheshu. And this will be a good place to draw anchor on this program. We'll be speaking with Barrister Ezeluchi, who joined us virtually from, he joined us virtually. He's a lawyer and a political affairs analyst. And we also had Mr. Frank Eheshu, an author who joined us from our Benin outstation. We also had Barrister Asim Adams. Oh, Barrister Asim Adams, please, can you use 30 seconds to give us your concluding thoughts? You need to unmute your mic so that we can get your audio feed.
Thought is this: the judiciary in Nigeria has become a problem. Judiciary has installed governors. Even when the people voted, they are right governors, they all give their own governor. Imo State, Bayelsa, example. In this instance, judiciary has also intervened in impeachment proceedings. It didn't even allow it to kickstart. They stunted it. Whereas Section 188, sub 10 says you cannot touch it. They are circumventing it, to determine. So the judicature, in my own opinion, is the real Nigeria emperor in political times. That is my own. They must be very careful so that they don't destroy this democracy for us. Thank you.
All right, and thank you very much, Barrister Adams, who joined us from Port Harcourt. We also had in the studio here with us Mr. Adele Fadimo. Gentlemen, thanks for your time and attention. We appreciate your presence. And now, on behalf of my colleagues here, Moses Humphrey and Jenna Goye, we say thank you very much for being part of the show. We'll return at 10 o'clock for extended newspaper review. Join us again then. Bye for now.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV, now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We bring in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
Join us as we drive into the world of politics through insightful interviews with prominent political figures, both serving and former governors, ministers, senators, legislators, party chieftains, activists, and analysts. Get first-hand information into the decision-making processes that affect our daily lives. Highly engaging one-hour program that brings political discourse into focus.
I am Chukwuma Okoro.
Political Lens, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. Join us. Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I. From social justice to economic empowerment, education to healthcare, governance, and more. Tackling tough topics and amplifying your voice. Join the conversation and make your voice count. The People's Voice. Make your voice count.
Behind every broken desk lies a broken promise. Education shapes the nations. But who is asking the right questions? Introducing Edu Dialogue, the show that goes beyond the surface, exposes the cracks, the corruption, and the silence in Nigeria's education system. Edu Dialogue, Saturdays, 3 p.m., only on VOP TV. We break the biggest stories, from missing funds to policy failures. We ask the tough questions and demand real answers. Edu Dialogue, this Saturday, 3 p.m. on Voice of the People Television.
This is Health Check, your weekly guide to better living, smarter choices,